Happy Independence Day to all of you.
Very happy Independence Day to you.
Same to you. Same
to you. Okay. What a day to have all of you here with me to join for a discussion on e-education, freedom, reflections, and learning. Thank you so very much for joining here today. Let me introduce each of you, esteemed academicians in our panel today. Please say hi whenever I am done with your introduction so that everybody know who I'm introducing with. Okay. So our first panelist, and I would say rather most experienced panelist in our with us today is Mrs. Kanta Mittal. She has 40 years of teaching experience, out of which 30 years she has taken the role of vice principal very enthusiastically. She feels proud of being a teacher because as per her, it's the best profession. She is having immense experience in grammar book writing with various publications. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. Could you please say hi for everyone? Yeah. Okay, then let me introduce our next guest, who's our group captain, Mr. K.N. Venkatesh. He has just taken retirement from our armed services. He has served in Indian Air Force as an aeronautical engineer for over 25 years and is currently the group director of Radhakrishna Institute of Technology and Engineering, RIT, which is located in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. In the year 2002, he has led his team to install and operationalize the first ever air defense radar in hills near Ladakh at 13,000 feet above mean sea level. Great to know what our armed forces do for us without even blinking an eye. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. Hi.
Thank you, Deepti. Thank you for all the good words.
Okay, so our next panelist today is Miss Pavitra. She is basically from Chennai, presently living in Bangalore for more than 2 decades. Hence, she calls herself a Bangalorean. I am also a Bangalorean, Pavitra, now, even though it's just 5 years. So spanning in the education field for about a decade and tasted success from the beginning of her career, Pavitra says that education has taught her to meet challenges and kept her goals and spirits very high. She is presently working in a Bangalore-based school. She has a keen passion for Bharatnatyam, Carnatic music, and writing poetry. Thank you, Pavitra, for joining us today. Hi.
Thank you, Deepti.
Yeah. And our last but not the least panelist is Mr. Shiaz Mohammed. Shiaz is a highly educated person with multiple degrees and accolades under his sleeves. He has done his master's in English language and hold a PG diploma in journalism as well. He has been writing English columns in various leading Malayalam newspapers. He is a presenter at VICTERS channel run by Government of Kerala. He is a member of Textbook Development Committee under Government of Kerala. And he is a state resource person in English State Council for Education Research and Training as well. See, I told you, he has so many accolades in his sleeves. Awesome to have you here, Shiaz. Thank you so much for joining us today. Yeah. Okay, then. I hope you guys know each other now, and let's start with our discussion. First question, I'll be asking each of you all the questions, and we'll announce your name so that you know it's your turn to answer. I have divided the categories of questions in four parts, and each part will have specific questions for that category. First category is academicians' perspective on what online teaching means for teachers. So first question is, how is the new online teaching experience since past year for all of you, and what new skills you have acquired to be effective educators? Who should I ask? Kanta ma'am, would you like to start? Ma'am, you are on mute. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन जब पेंडेमिक सर्कमस्टांसेस हमारे सामने थी और वो शुरू हुई, तो उस समय हमें लगा कि हम स्कूल बंद है या लॉकडाउन है, उसकी वजह से जो हमारे बच्चों की एजुकेशन है वो बंद नहीं होगी। तो ये सोच के हम बहुत खुश हुए। We were so happy कि now we will start online education for the students and teachers were happy. We will complete the syllabus. And इसके जहां हमें माइनस पॉइंट्स दिखे वहां हमें प्लस पॉइंट्स भी दिखे कि ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन से हम टेक्नोलॉजी को ज्यादा यूज कर पाए। स्टूडेंट्स, टीचर्स एंड एजुकेटर्स की ऑफलाइन एजुकेशन में हम उतना नहीं यूज कर रहे थे। थोड़ी सी प्रॉब्लम उन जगहों के लिए आई जो रूरल एरियाज हैं, बट ऑल ऑफ अस आर ट्राइंग टू एडजस्ट विद ऑल दीज थिंग्स। देन ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन ने हम सबके अंदर एक नई स्किल तो डेवलप की है कि हम लोग टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ ज्यादा आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। और छोटे छोटे बच्चे, इवन छोटे छोटे बच्चे भी और बड़े बच्चे तो पहले भी टेक्नोलॉजी के लिए काफी स्मार्टली सब चीजें हैंडल करते थे, पर छोटे किड्स के लिए, पेरेंट्स के लिए, टीचर्स के लिए एक नया स्किल डेवलप हुआ कि हम टेक्नोलॉजी का ज्यादा यूज कर पा रहे हैं। और जबकि जो हमारा टाइम है इसमें हमें टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज हमारे लिए बेटर।
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am, for elaborating it so nicely. I know Venkat sir, आप जो है डायरेक्टली पढ़ाते नहीं है, आपको आप पढ़ाने वाले लोगों से डील करते हो, तो इसलिए नेक्स्ट टाइम आपके पास जा रही हूँ पूछने के लिए कि how is your experience with your academics, you know, and people who are around you, the faculty members, how are they perceiving it?
Well, initially, of course, like what ma'am had said, those initial jitters of accepting technology and accepting the online platform as a mode of education was not thought of, to be very frank.
Right.
But then when the things continued for a longer time, so it was all a matter of acceptance that yes. So probably for about a month or so, we were all quite disoriented to begin with. And initial hiccups included, use of technology.
Right.
If everyone remembers, Zoom was into controversy that time with
Yes.
those servers placed in China and all that stuff. So I had my academicians, a few of them who were reluctant to use Zoom as a platform, and we had very fewer number of meeting apps that time.
Right.
Rather free meeting apps, I should say. And then, but yes, with time, things were put into onto the track. And other major issues were like, the data connectivity, students placed particularly in the remote places or in the rural areas and all had network issues. And another problem was like consumption of data while, video sharing and all that stuff. So, yes, but now I think it's more or less a part of life. With everything going online.
Yeah, true, sir, true. So, Pavitra, what are your views?
Regarding how children have got adapted over time. That's what you are.
Regarding your experience for the online teaching, and if anything new you have acquired from past 1.5 years in this span.
See, for teachers, each and every day it is a challenge, and we try to inculcate the best from others so that we can, use it in our classrooms. It is not
Right.
easy to teach on an online platform. One is because of time constraints. You have very less time. Within that 40 minutes, you need to do multitasking. So given the time constraints, I think we are doing a lot of work, and we collect ideas from other teachers, how they approach a concept, because it's not easy to directly start the work without going about with the concept. If the child is sitting in front of you, it is a different story.
Yeah.
You have the children live in front of you, so you
Right.
are able to understand whether the child has understood the concept or not. Here it's a different scenario, so keeping all those parameters in mind, it is challenging, and it takes a lot of time to complete even one concept.
Correct, correct. Shias, I'm coming to you with the same question.
Okay, thank you very much for this great opportunity. I think as far as teachers are concerned, it's a really, really complicated scenario, right? You cannot accept completely, or you cannot negate that completely, right? As far as a brilliant teacher is concerned, it's a real possibility, right? You are seen around the globe, right? You have audience around the globe. You can prove yourself with all kinds of students from different parts of the world. At the same time, it also creates some problem, right? You're being monitored, you're being surveillance is really a big issue these days, right? Because you are watched, your pedagogic decisions are watched, your language is noted. So it's a kind of a tightrope work, right? I think teachers need to have a very, very clear, precise idea about this scenario. That's my first point. Secondly, you know that the earlier digital phobia and the digital panacea, these are the two extremes that we are encountering these days. Some people say that digital is not going to do anything for you. Some others say that digital is everything, right? We are within these two binaries. I think we need to go beyond this. We need to think of a digital realism where we really engage with the classroom scenario in a very meaningful way with the technology, right? So the digital realism is the right word we need to be focusing. If I talk about my own experience as a teacher of English in Kerala, one thing we really missed is the idea called digital pedagogy, right? We have digital infrastructure, we have, interesting apps and things like that. But we never could think of a meaningful digital pedagogy or an innovative pedagogy we couldn't evolve. I think at this point of time, instead of celebrating digital phobia and digital panacea, we need to look at the scenario, the situation, the need of the student, the content, right? The outcome. We need to experiment with digital technology meaningfully, so that I think technology has this very interesting, thing to afford for all of us. Before I stop, earlier we always think of a binary between digital immigrant and digital natives, right? We have teachers who are digital immigrants trying to teach children who are digital natives. So recently I have read an article which says that, digital immigrancy is not a perpetual position, right? Digital immigrancy is not a permanent position. You can, if teachers are really interested, you can change your position, you can change your status from the level of digital immigrancy to the level of a digital native. That's a very interesting proposition for teachers or senior teachers like us. I think that's a very, very interesting, optimistic position for teachers like us. So that's my first take on online education in the context of English teaching.
Indeed, intellectual, Shias. And I would say, yeah, you had a lot of good points. And along with your points, I liked one more thing specifically, which Pavitra mentioned in between, that it is a collaborative learning for all of us, like teachers are helping each other out. So it's a peer learning as well, rather than peer pressure on each other. We are trying to, as academicians, we are trying to help each other and survive in an environment which was new for everybody.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the second question in the same category. So we are focusing right now here on teachers, like how they are coping up in this category in online education system. So my question to all of you is, how are you taking care of your mental and physical well-being while trying to conduct classes in isolation? Because like we just mentioned, that school was a very harmonious environment. You know, everybody was able to see each other, interact with each other as and when they wanted to. So now we are kind of isolated with each other. We can't give so much of time. We can't walk by in the corridors to talk to each other, you know. So how are you ensuring your physical and mental well-being? Who should I ask first? Pavitra, would you like to answer?
This is a very challenging question, Deepti.
Yes.
Physical and mental well-being is something right now, it's very difficult to describe in words, because as I said, we don't have the children in front of us. So many a times when we see the black screens, and we do not know whether the child is even, existing behind the screen or not. And the class is going on, it becomes a challenge for the teacher to understand the mental setup of the child. Correct. And given the present scenario which is going on, and we do not know when we are going to get back to the actual normalcy, I think it is going to take a toll on all the children to get back to the actual normalcy when they get back to school.
Right.
Physical and mental well-being is something which we basically talk with them in the class, and try to motivate them after the school hours. Because given the time constraints, as I told you in the first question, there are so many aspects which we have to look into. So certain things cannot be done, even though it has to be. So we'll have to take that on a different platform.
Right, right. So Venkat sir, how are you taking care of the physical and mental well-being of your academies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, unlike like what Pavitra ma'am has said, maybe the students are of much younger age. We have a different group of students, doing engineering, MBA, and all that. So actually, what is the general feedback from my academicians is like the duration of the classes, what they used to be during the offline or the campus teaching, was not adequate when it came to having the same class duration online. Initially, whatever network issues, people joining at their own convenience, all this kind of delays are consuming a lot of time. Even giving an assignment on a Google form or whatever way. So these are things which otherwise were not a constraint earlier. So what in fact we have done is we have increased the duration of the class. I mean, in the sense from about an hour to 1.5 hours plus,
right.
I should say, and then give a break for about 45 minutes and then have the next class. So this 45 minutes is helping the students to actually, recharge their mobile phones or any other devices if they are on something, and as well as giving a breather to the, the teaching staff.
Correct.
So otherwise, had it been a very continuous process, it would have been pretty tedious for them. It's something.
Yeah. Very good input, sir. And I'm moving to Shias now for his views that how is he taking care of his physical and mental being plus the students as well.
Okay. Okay, that's a very interesting question, because that's a big concern also, right? In comparison with the face-to-face classroom, right? Your interaction with the children are very limited in online mode. That's a very common, very popular, sensational kind of an issue. But I think in my own experience, I am dealing with adolescent students. They are, that period is a very, very complicated period, right? It's a period of stress and strain, and these are already
She has very lost you in between.
So these are like
Yeah, he has
an example of those constraints. I don't know whether it has happened or he's simulating it.
It's the live example he's giving us. Yeah. So you gave us live example of what we all face.
Problem.
Yeah. Okay. So you were saying, Shiaz. Please complete your thoughts. Yeah.
Okay. I'm dealing with adolescent kids. That adolescent period itself is a very problematic kind of a period. So you need to be doubly conscious of their issues and concern. One problem with this generalization of socio-emotional skills is that you are not really reflexive about the categories of students and their issues, right? If you look at the primary students, they have their own sets of issues, right? If you look at the adolescents, they have another categories of social issues. And if you go to the college level students, they have a totally new pattern of issues and problems. I think as pedagogues, as educationists, we need to look at the issues of these segments of children are facing and intervening accordingly, instead of talking about generally on the socio-emotional issues of all these children. And regarding my own interventions, we do 4-tier interventions in our classroom. We have a state level, Victor's level programs. It's a state level program. It is telecast for all the students of Kerala, right? So it's a state level, homogeneous, very standardized kind of program. So it may not be able to address the diverse needs of children from different parts of the state, right? We have coastal students, we have hilly areas, we have city schools. So we need to be focusing on all these segmentations of schooling. So for that, teachers are to be doing some kind of centralized streaming through some kind of LMS system. We are doing that. And after that, we have the social media kind of an intervention where you interact with students daily, you send them materials, you send them very, customized videos. And for the last, those who are underperforming, so-called underperformers, we are even trying some kind of localized resource center. So it's in a way, 4, stage interventions with the students. So I think that is in a way supporting the students in the different levels possible. Beyond that, a teacher can also think of diverse strategies within his own classroom, right? I do that. I do often do some interaction with their family issues, personal issues. I do very small lecturing. Maybe if it's a 1-hour session, I will finish maybe after 35 minutes. I stop lecturing, and after that we go for some kind of interactions. We try some kind of cultural activity. If it is it's a special day, we think of organizing some special events with the help of students, teachers. We also try, utilizing the space within the home. For example, a child is introducing his mother or father, if it's for an introduction session in English program, or for some other thing in science classroom, some kind of experimentation for description, he can describe the most beautiful place in his home. So we are trying to, exploit the possibility that's specially arranged by the home scenario in the online context. So, and moreover, in my teaching, we talk about accelerated learning, right? You talk about, UNICEF is talking about that, how to finish, by condensing, by meaningfully integrating curriculum components, or finishing things faster without doing any kind of a so-called remediation business. So that way also, I'm you know, I instead of, so if I'm teaching a story in the classroom, I can speak for maybe 1 or 2 hours, 1 or 2 sessions I can do for teaching a story. But here I just focus on the story of a grammar, the story grammar side, right? You know, I focus the most crucial, vital elements of a story and the with my students. I'm trying some specialized strategy for online content. So these are the way I do for minimizing the mine and that of my students.
Right.
Okay.
So you're passing that energy on to the students as well. Yeah.
Exactly. That we should do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Okay, Kanta ma'am, your views, please.
It's natural to be stressed in physically and mentally. Teachers are in stress and students both are, and educators also. How should we manage the mental level, mental stress of teachers and students and ourselves? तो हम यही कर सकते हैं कि देखिए, सबसे पहले तो हमें कि ये we should ask our students that it is a temporary situation. We should not treat it as a stress. हमें ये नहीं मानना चाहिए कि ये स्ट्रेस हम इसलिए ले रहे हैं कि एट प्रेजेंट स्ट्रेस है, लेकिन क्योंकि ये परमानेंट हमारी रहने वाली नहीं है। तो पहली बात तो इस बात को लेके हम एक रिलीफ फील कर सकते हैं कि एक टेम्परेरी है हमारा। दूसरी बात कि जो कुछ हम क्लासेस में बच्चों को करा रहे, उसके अलावा भी जैसे हम स्कूल में बच्चों की प्रॉब्लम सुनते थे, उनसे फीडबैक लेते थे, हम उन्हें जो कुछ पढ़ा रहे, जो कुछ करा रहे, वो उन्हें कितना समझ में आ रहा है, हम थोड़ा सा उनको टाइम और देकर उनका फीडबैक ले सकते हैं। बच्चा 1-to-1 जब अपने आप को टीचर से अटैच्ड फील करता है तो उसका स्ट्रेस ऑलरेडी कम हो जाता है, और उधर टीचर को भी पता चलता है कि जो कुछ वो पढ़ा रही है वो बच्चों को समझ में आ रहा है। तो ऑब्वियस एक इंटरेस्ट और एक फ्रेंडशिप वाला जो एनवायरनमेंट हम स्कूल में डेवलप करते थे, वो हम यहाँ भी कर सकते हैं। चाहे वो हम का परसेंटेज हमारा कम हो जाएगा, लेकिन फिर भी हम एक सीमा तक उसे हम डेवलप कर सकते हैं। और रही बात ये कि फिजिकली हम स्ट्रेस्ड हैं, फिजिकली हम परेशान रहते ही हैं, एक ही सिचुएशन में बैठना या ऑनलाइन टीचिंग करने की वजह से हम हर समय स्क्रीन के सामने बैठे हैं, तो उन सब चीजों के लिए भी हमें बच्चों को भी मोटिवेट करना होगा कि डू एक्सरसाइज, वॉकिंग, एंड हमें खुद भी वो चीजें फॉलो करनी होगी, है ना। क्योंकि ऑफलाइन एजुकेशन में जैसे कि अभी बताया पवित्रा जी ने भी बताया कि हम घूमते थे, इधर उधर जाते थे, बच्चे घूम रहे हैं, एक दूसरे से बातचीत कर रहे हैं, तो ऑलरेडी वो चीजें हमारी जो है निकल जाती थी। लेकिन अब क्योंकि एक ही जगह पे बैठे हुए हम क्लासेस ले रहे हैं और कंटिन्यूस हम क्लासेस ले रहे हैं, तो हमारे आई स्ट्रेन हो रहा है, हमारी फिजिकल प्रॉब्लम्स हमें डिफरेंट तरीके की हमारे साथ हो रही है। उन सबको भी करने के लिए हमें बच्चों को भी मोटिवेट करना होगा, और जहां तक है हमें खुद भी मोटिवेट होना होगा कि अगर हम एक्सरसाइज कर रहे हैं, हम वॉकिंग कर रहे हैं, और ये सब चीजें बच्चों से फीडबैक ले रहे हैं, और वो सारी चीजें जैसे ऑफलाइन में हम कलेक्ट करते थे, अगर हम वैसा करने की कोशिश करते हैं तो एक सीमा तक हम बच्चों के स्ट्रेस को दूर कर पाएंगे, और अपना भी। क्योंकि ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन में हमारा एक फिक्स टाइम है कि हम स्क्रीन टाइम हम इतना ही बच्चों को देंगे, लेकिन बीइंग ए टीचर हम क्योंकि बच्चों के वेल विशर हैं, एज ए पेरेंट भी, तो हम उनको थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा टाइम देके उनसे फीडबैक लेकर उनके स्ट्रेस को कम कर सकते हैं। जो कुछ हम कर सकते हैं उसमें एक ये भी चीज आती है कि हम अपने टीचिंग के अलावा भी बच्चों से थोड़ा सा फीडबैक लेने के लिए अलग टाइम देने के लिए वीक में 1 बार या वीक में 2 बार पर सब्जेक्ट उनकी प्रॉब्लम हम ले सकते हैं। तो उससे क्या है, उनका मेंटल और फिजिकल वो दोनों चीजें उनकी फिट रखने की हम कोशिश कर सकते हैं।
Right. So what I understood from all of you is that taking breaks is essential from technology perspective also, so that we can charge our devices and all. Then we should pass on a friendly environment and energy to the students. Also, we need to take feedback from those students and ask them and ask us also to, take some breaks to have some stretching and all going on. And that's how, keeping the positive environment with each other and with the students, we can tackle this problem. And this is what you all are doing it from past 1.5 years. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yes, sir.
Sorry, interrupting, but then I have a
Yes.
slightly different view on this. So like what Kanta ma'am has said.
Yeah.
Like we need to make them understand that it's a temporary problem. Actually, I personally feel that the whole problem lies in accepting that problem as a temporary. The moment we realize that this is going to stay, our acceptance levels will be altogether different. Now,
Right.
we are treating this as a pain. But if we accept it that this is what we are supposed to live with, there will be a lot of innovations which may come up, which may ease these problems in terms of technology or even otherwise artificial intelligence based.
Right.
But we are in the mental makeup of treating the entire thing as a temporary.
I don't know if Kanta ma'am meant the whole online teaching as a temporary kind of thing, or she meant that the problems which, the problem.
आज नहीं तो कल hope so कि school will open and students will come, school teaching will be normal as
Right.
usual. वो अभी तक चल रही थी, तो वो भी एक चीज है कि हम उसे टेम्परेरी, ये नहीं कि 2-4 दिन की प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, 1 year or more than 1 year we can face this type of problem. And technology development is also good, but offline teaching best, ये तो हम मानेंगे.
I know Venkat sir has different views on it. Yeah.
So Venkatesh sir is basically saying live the present moment, accept it gracefully.
See, if you adjust, the difference between adjustment and accepting a thing is always time bar. Like adjustment is always for a certain duration. After that, you lose patience, you break down. But if you accept it, well, today, if the students are keeping their cameras off or maybe are not responding to the attendance calls or something, it's just because they know that, okay, maybe अगले हफ्ते स्कूल खुल जाएगी और maybe 1 महीना कोई बात नहीं, तब ये क्या फिर से repeat नहीं होगा? But they have to understand, ये repeat नहीं होगा.
Correct.
That's when they will be, more conscious about their career.
Right.
Right now, that is missing. Yes.
Yeah.
Discipline is also compulsory. To maintain discipline is also compulsory, whether it is online education or is offline education.
Correct. That's the essence of all the schooling or all college and basically learning and education. That's the essence, that discipline is necessary, whichever way we are teaching the younger ones or the older ones.
नहीं, अपने को करना है. The teachers have to understand, the students have to understand, the parents have to understand.
Correct.
Yes, now
Yes, it is a triangular agreement between the teachers, children, the student, and the parents. If one of them is off the track, trust me, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Whether it is online or offline. Online, it is more because you don't have the child with you in front. So it's
right.
Yeah. So parents have to be more vigilant.
Yes. Puzzle gets complete when all the three work together. Otherwise, it won't fit. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question is, because we brought the subject of connect with the children and cameras are off, बंद कर देते हैं, फिर पता नहीं चलता है. तो आप लोग कैसे ensure कर रहे हो? How are you guys ensuring that you are connected with your students? You know how they are behaving, or if they are being able to learn the things, and how are you reasoning out with them about the same things? Or how do you know their progress when cameras are off, when you can't see their facial expressions, when you can't meet them in the balcony, in the corridors? So how are you ensuring that? I would ask Shias first now.
Okay, I think that's a very, very difficult question, right? One thing really problematic about online session is that we are just virtualizing the regular classroom, right?
Yeah.
We haven't really tapped the really exciting possibility of online. Unfortunately, whatever we do inside the classroom is just replicated in the online mode. So I think my concern is that we really wasted a wonderful possibility, right? So that's my first point of disagreement, right? We should have evolved a pedagogy and a teaching learning strategies that are in sync with the the possibilities that the digital mode offers. So unfortunately, maybe it's due to the lack of teacher training, right? Our training of our teacher is not really sufficient. We are also giving very conventional, very typical kind of a training program. So we need to equip the teachers to think of producing their own program, right? Instead of becoming a perpetual digital consumers, I think teachers need to be supported for converting themselves to be a digital producer. They have to produce content for the students. They know their students better. They know their level better. So it's kind of a localized kind of an intervention, right? So according to your student, their level, their aspiration, their expectation, you're producing content, taking videos and materials from different corners of the digital platform. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Instead, we are just doing kind of a lecturing. Very often we call the methodology as didactic, right? You almost lecture through the way I am doing it. It's really pathetic, but we have
No.
But
Yeah.
this is what's happening, right? You feel bored, and imagine the plight of the children. They're very dynamic, right? They watch very quality programs, high definitional programs. If they feel bored, they will just switch it off, right? They have that option in the television, right? Either they change the channels or switch it off, which is not possible in the case of a classroom. So as a teacher, if you look at yourself, if you try an introspection, we didn't do enough for converting ourselves to be a fit presenter for the students in the online mode. I think for that, really interesting research should be happening for teaching professionals how to equip themselves to manage this digital native, so that you can prove yourself to be very stable in front of your students.
Right. Good views, actually, and towards the positive side of it, that how can we innovate ourselves to make children more receptive towards the education. Anda ma'am, what are your views?
देखिए, मेरा तो इसमें यही कहना है कि टीचर्स एग्जैक्टली ये प्रॉब्लम है कि बच्चे टीचिंग के समय मूड नहीं है तो कैमरा ऑफ कर देंगे, या कैमरा ऑफ करके अपने किसी भी काम में बिजी हो जाते हैं। और टीचर क्या करेगी, बार बार टीचर उनको अगर बोलती भी है तभी वो उस समय हेल्पलेस है। मेरे हिसाब से टीचर उस समय तो हेल्पलेस है। और उसमें हम यही कर सकते हैं कि देखिए, कुछ ऐसी चीजें हो सकती हैं कि बच्चे ने अगर कैमरा ऑफ कर दिया है, हम उनको कुछ डिसिप्लिन ऐसे बना देंगे पॉइंट्स की, हम उनको मार्क्स नहीं देंगे, या हम उनको पेरेंट्स की काउंसलिंग कर सकते हैं, या अपने टीचिंग को हम इतना पॉइंट हम इस तरह से चीजें मैनेज करेंगे। पहली बात कि हम अपनी टीचिंग को इतना इंटरेस्टिंग बनाएं कि बच्चा उसमें कैमरा ऑफ करके वहां से क्विट करने की कोशिश ही नहीं करे। दूसरी बात, अगर वो करता है तो एज ए फ्रेंड हम उनकी काउंसलिंग करने की कोशिश करते हैं। बावजूद इसके भी अगर वो नहीं पढ़ना चाहता, उनका फ्यूचर, उनके बारे में बताकर भी हम बच्चों को उस क्लास में रहने की उनको कर सकते हैं, काउंसलिंग ही हो सकती है। और उसके बाद भी अगर बच्चा ऐसा कर रहा है तो डिसिप्लिन रूल्स हम बना सकते हैं कि इस बच्चे ने अगर कैमरा ऑफ किया है, हम इसको प्रैक्टिकल में मार्क्स नहीं देने की बात बोल सकते हैं, या हम उनको प्रैक्टिकल क्लासेस नहीं ज्वाइन करने देंगे, या नेक्स्ट टाइम हम उनको क्लास नहीं ज्वाइन करने देंगे। इस तरह की कुछ चीजें हम बना, थोड़ा प्रेशर तो हमें बच्चे पर करना होगा, या साथ ही साथ हम उनके पेरेंट्स की भी काउंसलिंग कर सकते हैं। क्योंकि पेरेंट्स की मीटिंग हम स्कूल्स में भी लेते हैं। अगर बच्चे की हमें कहीं कोई कमी दिखाई देती है, ऑब्वियसली हम टीचर एंड पेरेंट्स बोथ आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट, चाहे वो मेंटल डेवलपमेंट हो, चाहे वो एकेडमिक का हो या कुछ भी है। उनके परफॉर्मेंस को लेके हम तब भी मीटिंग करते हैं। हमारी टीचिंग इंटरेस्टिंग हो, हमारा बिहेवियर ऐसा हो कि एज ए फ्रेंड वो हमें ज्वाइन ही करेंगे। तीसरी बात, अगर हम उनकी काउंसलिंग करते हैं कि आपका ये करियर इस बात पर डिपेंड करता है, ऑब्वियसली दे विल टेक इंटरेस्ट इन दिस। एंड फाइनली हम पेरेंट्स की भी काउंसलिंग कर सकते हैं, बिकॉज इस समय बच्चा पूरा टाइम पेरेंट्स के पास है, तो पेरेंट्स इज ऑल्सो रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर ऑल दिस अकॉर्डिंग टू। तो ये हमारी आपस में अंडरस्टैंडिंग की है, जिससे कि हम बच्चों को क्लासेस ज्वाइन करने के लिए, क्लासेस अटेंड करने के लिए मोटिवेट कर सकते हैं। और जहां तक नेटवर्क इश्यूज की बात है, तो वो हमें बच्चों की प्रॉब्लम एक्चुअल में जान के उनको थोड़ा छोड़ना भी पड़ेगा। ये तो हमें क्लासेस में भी करना पड़ता था, ऑफलाइन क्लासेस में भी हम बच्चे की प्रॉब्लम सुनकर उनको छोड़ देते। हर समय हम पनिशमेंट भी नहीं दे सकते।
Right. So we have to strike a balance between where they are genuine and where they need to be counseled along with the parents. Yeah.
We should talk to the parents also कि आपका बच्चा हर समय इस तरह क्लास ऑफ छोड़ देता है या वीडियो ऑफ करता है। Obviously, parents are also worried for their work.
Right, right. Venkat sir?
Well, was a discipline point of view, yes.
You are an RV person.
No, not for that reason.
Yeah.
No, see, it's matter of just whatever 6 hours of 6 to 8 hours, depending on what the students have to spend in a day.
Yeah.
And it's like being at work. So that particular dedication needs to come either प्यार से या मार से वाली बात है, and then so we need to implement rules like attendance related with camera being switched on and all those things. But actually, like what Mr. Shinas was also saying, I mean, regarding making the classes interesting and keeping them glued to the screens, kind of a thing. This actually demands for us to provide better resources to the teachers in terms of technology. Technology in the sense, provide all those digital walls or video walls, they call, and give them a ready-made library from where they get all the videos, whatever they want. Today, that kind of an effort has not been put by any agency to have these kind of videos being put at one place where just the teacher goes, fine, needs to teach, suppose somebody has to teach something, tries to get a video. So why is it that that kind of a pulled in website where you get ready-made videos for teaching purpose are not available is again the same thing.
Yeah.
करना है तो वो दिल चाहिए, हिंदी में दिल चाहिए, इंग्लिश में विल चाहिए.
Will चाहिए. So सही बात है. So, and that point, in fact, Shias has also brought that teachers need to be supported, whether it's by agencies or technology in any sense, so that they can design their course or design their lecture in a way that which is easily accessible to students and which is interesting as well. So both of you brought the same thing, and yes, discipline is necessary, so that, and it has to be somewhere attached to their future, whether in the form of marks or whether in the form of attendance. Then it makes sense, then they will realize. Yeah. Pavitra.
See, today, unfortunately, children have the ball in their court, as in they have the link. They can either enter the class or take an exit when they feel like. So, however, I have a different point of view here. However innovative or creative you make the classroom, create the classroom, which every teacher would eventually. And on an online platform, you have to do more because, as I said, it's very difficult and challenging to directly touch base with the chapter. You have to do a little bit of prep work before that, before you start with the actual work.
Correct.
But the complete what do you call, there should be cooperation from the parents that they are vigilant about their child. There are children who enter the class, they give attendance, and then they just flutter by. So, as Venkat sir said, they should understand that the bruises are going to be really very deep. And even if it's temporary or permanent, keep that aside. Acceptance is very important, and you'll have to start pulling up your socks, and you'll have to be very vigilant. Parents have to be very vigilant about it, which they failed to do.
Yeah. So like we already established that all of the three parts of it have to work together. Teachers, parents, and students, so that connection is maintained, and then whatever we are trying to impart as a learning process to them, it is getting done. Yeah. So good points all of you have. Like I must say that it's going great up till now. So last question in this category is, how easy or difficult it is to get hands-on with the technology along with your own subject matter expertise? Because we were talking about just now that agencies can help us or not, or any technology support can help us as teachers or not. So, because your screen time is increased in terms of prep work, just now Pavitra has mentioned. So how difficult you're finding this hands-on experience with technology, and how are you coping up with it? Who should I ask? Kanta ma'am?
ये ऑब्वियस है, देखिए कि जब टीचर मॉर्निंग से और 3 आवर्स और 4 आवर्स स्क्रीन के सामने बैठकर स्क्रीन से बैठे हैं, और हम भी हैं, तो ऑब्वियस है स्ट्रेन, आई स्ट्रेन है, या टीचर कंटिन्यूअसली उसको टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज कर रहा है, तो ऑब्वियस है उसके ऊपर स्ट्रेन तो है। लेकिन फिर वही बात मैं बोलूंगी कि हमें कहीं ना कहीं एडजस्टमेंट करना ही होगा। आई स्ट्रेन है, या हम अपना फिजिकल भी कभी सर्वाइकल हमें प्रॉब्लम कर रहे हैं या कुछ कर रहे हैं, लेकिन फिर भी हमें उन चीजों को हैंडल करना ही।
राइट। सो ऑफलाइन आवर्स में थोड़ा अपने ऊपर वर्क करना पड़ेगा।
हाँ बिल्कुल।
जो कि पहले साथ साथ चलता रहता था, अभी थोड़ा सा। Shias?
Yeah. Even if you think in terms of a regular classroom, right? You are, focusing to the multiple levels of students within the classroom, right? Multiple styles and intelligence of the classroom, right? You are not using the same pedagogic postulate every day, right? You are reinventing every day you are entering the classroom, right? The moment you are very, very predictable, you are going to be a very pathetic teacher in front of your students. I know teachers coming and asking, where did I stop yesterday? That kind of a very, very disturbing questions are, it should be avoided by teachers, even in normal class also. Similarly, in online class also, we need to think of diversified classroom strategies, right? You can have individual, pair work, group work, half class, whole class. It's almost like a, James Cameronian movie, right? We have a principle called Cameronian principles in teaching, right? No point in your class time a child should feel bored, right? So you need to arrange everything: suspense, thriller, adventure, fight, romance, everything, right? So a teacher has to be very, very creative in that sense, right? Yeah. And I'm talking about including myself, you are very boring, and how can you insist on your children listening to you all the time? Your sons won't be doing that. Your husband won't be doing that. And how can 60 students from 60 background, 16 contexts responding to your, very monotonous, very typical, very conventional kind of. So you need to be very vibrant. We need to be very vibrant. We need to tap all the possibility that the technology is offering. That's what I said. We can think of multiple modalities of, you can have statewide homogeneous classroom, your school-based another package. You can have, podcasts. You can have videos of other teachers. You can have, multiple strategies can be and should be employed for the students. That's the great thing. Teacher needs to be very democratic, right? You should be, liberal enough to accommodate other teachers. There are very interesting teachers in certain areas, but some teachers are very strong in grammar. Some teachers are very strong in poetry, right? You don't need to do all this thing, right? Look, somebody who is quite good at grammar and invite him, get his video and give to your students. Do a general discussion. Invite somebody who is very strong in teaching poetry, right? Invite him. If he's somebody strong in teaching stories, invite him. So my point is that you don't have to be the central agency of teaching, right? That's what's happening in a typical classroom. And you know that most of the students are really, if you remember your own school days, you remember people, they trouble you like anything. So this is a golden opportunity for teachers to experiment, to innovate, to engage, and to impress students with your very creative, very differentiated. That's what a point is all about. Differentiate your curriculum strategies, diversify your pedagogic decisions, incorporate multiple personalities within the classroom. That's a real difference. School and home. You have so many people in between in the current online scenario: the location, the persons, the material, modalities. So explore all these strategies, and then I think the students will feel improved. If possible, ask them to teach, right? Let the students do some kind of teaching. Don't think that you're the only person to teach the students. The teach itself is a very complicated word, Teach means you have some imposed authority to do something. We need to reconfigure all those typical procedures and perspectives of teaching, the kind of power, the kind of extra authority that is normally attached in a normal classroom, that is no longer valid in an online context. My point all about. Thank you.
Right. So what I could get is that the collaboration between teachers themselves is to be offline as well and online too. Because if we do that, offline we are any which ways helping us out in dealing with technology issues or in dealing with different student-related issues. But online as well, if we collaborate with each other, then it makes more sense and it will make it interesting, and our difficulties will cut down.
Online, it has to be more than offline.
You're relaxed, this is your chance. You delegate your work. That's why the Venkat sir knows it better, right?
Good tip. Good tip.
And teachers are not doing it. They are doing everything by their own. That's really pathetic, right? You need to delegate the work, meaningfully delegate the work, explore the possibility, invite expert, collaborate. This world is so complex where collaboration is the only possibility. Right?
Correct.
And pull in the right ideas which is appropriate to the age you are catering with.
Right. And Pavitra, it's your turn, so you can continue.
So I think more or less people who answered before me answered that collaborative teaching is the need of the hour on an online platform. You have to be innovative and creative, can't keep it mundane. And considering the fact that children are listening or not and they are not accessible and things like that, you have to be really very vigilant about how you approach a particular concept. So technology now has been something which everybody is using probably 20 hours in a day because we don't have a choice. And all of us have become pros with it, especially the teaching faculty. We were not using this before to such an extent. So it has its own pros and cons, like any would have, but we are not given a choice right now. So we're doing our best. And
and it's one more added skill set in all of us.
Yes. The COVID-19 has taught us how to handle and enhance our skills with technology.
Correct. Sir, you are dealing with a little older students, like who are either adults or are going to be adults soon. So yes, your thoughts, different age students.
Well, irrespective of age of students, there is one very common thing what almost every one of us must have experienced during our schooling time, or whenever we used to go to school or colleges, that we always used to have some known flying objects. Those were the chalk pieces which used to come like a missile from the teacher. The moment you are trying to, indulge in a crosstalk with your the student sitting next to you, or maybe you are dozing off or something like that. So I'm just waiting for that technology where the teacher, all what the teacher needs to touch is if he or she finds that a screen is going blank or something, just touch that particular screen and there is a whistle blown on the other side.
Good imagination, sir. Yeah. Someday we'll
Yes,
have
of
this.
course it will. It will
Yeah.
come. It will come.
Yeah.
So yes, but I would like to bring out one very important aspect in this is whatever collaboration said and done. Teaching theoretical aspects and theory or theory related kind of things are still easier as compared to things which involve skill development. So yes, one person who says use, like IITs have virtual labs and all that stuff, use technology and all that, but still, unless like in my case, like unless electronics engineering student touches the soldering iron, does a bit of soldering himself, it is being taught online. Yes, there will always be a difference.
Yeah, few things need to be held and then used.
So the technology has to be really broad. Yeah.
True. And for that also, I think few things are already there in place, but we still need a lot more in that arena of education where practicals and labs and everything can be made fully online, if at all, whenever it is possible. Yeah. So
it's already there.
Yeah, it's already there. But yes, we need a lot of improvement there because
Precisely.
For easier assessment for the students. Yes. Okay, so let's move on to the next category, which is about the students, that how online education is affecting students. So my first question is, in offline environment, to fit in with the physical appearance and style of their peers, students did face peer pressure. Do you think that peer pressure is still there in online format of education? Shias, would you like to answer?
So I think I'm not that fit to meaningfully engage with that question, but I think online pressure, I didn't find that significant in that, because they are students are becoming more accommodative, more democratic in their perspectives and things like that. I think online in that context is progressive, right? That is really learner friendly, or supporting learning in that sense, without really conscious about the kind of assessment pressures that we are normally familiar in the face-to-face classroom context. That's my point, but I'm not really sure about that. So I didn't think much about it. But I think we need to look at that a little more closely. Maybe other experts will be helping us with that.
Yeah. Kanta ma'am, would you like to say?
Students feel peer pressure in online education also. In offline education, I think so कि there are so 40 students in a class. They एक दूसरे से बातचीत करते हैं, अपनी प्रॉब्लम भी शेयर करते हैं. हाँ, वहाँ भी कुछ चीजें ऐसी हो सकती हैं, होती रही है कि जो बच्चों को एक प्रेशर सा फील कराती है. लेकिन ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन में आई थिंक सो कि वो प्रेशर ज्यादा फील करते हैं. क्योंकि अब मैं एक एग्जांपल देती हूँ कि किसी बच्चे के पास लैपटॉप है और किसी बच्चे के पास एक फोन है. फोन वाला जो एक बच्चा है वो अच्छी तरह से उसकी फैमिली ने उसको एक फोन दिया है और वहां उसको अच्छी तरह से वो वाईफाई कनेक्शन नहीं ले पा रहा है या कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा है. और एक वो साथ में दूसरा बच्चा देखता है जो कि अच्छी प्रकार से सारी चीजें हैंडल कर पा रहा है, और वो साथ ही साथ अपने प्रॉब्लम में उतनी शेयर नहीं कर पाता. ऑफलाइन एजुकेशन में टीचर देख रही है, टीचर भी उनकी चीजों को नोटिस करती हैं और वो उनकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करने की कोशिश करती हैं। लेकिन ऑनलाइन टीचिंग में क्या है कि बच्चा अपनी प्रॉब्लम कह ही नहीं पाता। एक या दो फ्रेंड है, उनसे उसने कहा तो वो फ्रेंड टीचर तक नहीं देता। टीचर के पास अगर आ गई तो वो अपनी एकेडमिक इंचार्ज तक नहीं पहुंचती है बात। उससे क्या है कि बच्चे के मन पे जो प्रेशर है वो प्रेशर उसको बना रहता है, चाहे वो उसकी इंडिविजुअल प्रॉब्लम हो या वो स्टडी की प्रॉब्लम हो। जैसे अभी असेसमेंट करने की प्रॉब्लम बताई कि कोई असाइनमेंट है, क्लास में बच्चा फिर भी एक दूसरे की हेल्प करता था, लेकिन अब इसमें हर बच्चा अपना असाइनमेंट कर रहा है। वो कितनी उसको हेल्प कर पा रहा है, पेरेंट्स कितनी उसकी बातें सुन पा रहे हैं, ये कुछ नहीं कहा जा सकता। तो आई थिंक सो कि पीयर प्रेशर ऑफलाइन टीचिंग से ऑनलाइन टीचिंग में मुझे लगता है ज्यादा महसूस करता है, क्योंकि वो अपनी इंडिविजुअल प्रॉब्लम तो टीचर के साथ या किसी काउंसलर के साथ या किसी के साथ डील ही नहीं कर पाता। आई थिंक सो पीयर प्रेशर इज आल्सो इन ऑनलाइन टीचिंग।
Ma'am, you gave a new perspective because all of us, I think somehow, somewhere I was also feeling that it was less because एक दूसरे को देखते नहीं है तो किसने क्या पहना है, किसने कौन सा वॉच लिया है, किसने कौन सा मोबाइल लिया है, उतना नहीं पता चलता है, तो इसलिए कम होगा शायद। लेकिन आपने बहुत अच्छा, हाँ,
बात बिल्कुल सही है, आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है कि वो क्योंकि घर में है, उसकी कितनी ड्रेसेस हैं, क्या परचेज किया, वो नहीं दिखेगा, तो उसको कम चीजें लगेंगी, है ना।
जी,
एग्जाम्पल की बर्थडे है तो एक बच्चा 2000 की ड्रेस पहन कर आ रहा है, एक बच्चे ने 500 की ड्रेस पहनी है, तो एग्जैक्टली आपका कहना है कि वो बच्चे के ऊपर एक मन पे प्रेशर आता है। लेकिन यहाँ पे बहुत सारी चीजें, बच्चा तो बात वहां कम से कम बातचीत करके बच्चा अपना प्रेशर कम करता है। और मेरे हिसाब से ऑनलाइन में तो उसको ये सब चीजें, माना मैंने कि वो ये सब चीजें देखकर उसका, जब उसे पता ही नहीं है तो उसके ऊपर प्रेशर कम है। लेकिन और बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो उसकी ऑफलाइन टीचिंग में उसकी वो निकल जाती थी, बातचीत हो जाती थी। तो यहाँ तो कोई बातचीत ही नहीं है,
बात नहीं हो पाती है।
की सर्कमस्टांसिस में बच्चा पढ़ रहा है, लेकिन बहुत सारी जो उसने प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहा है वो अकेले बैठकर, तो वो तो उसकी नहीं निकलेंगी। तो आई थिंक सो कि और बच्चे को भी उसकी चीजें पता है, तो वो पीयर प्रेशर उसके ऊपर ऑनलाइन, आई थिंक सो।
नहीं, वैलिड पॉइंट मैम। पवित्रा, what is your take on this?
Non-accessibility, again, it all comes to that particular point of not being, having the child in front of us so that we can counsel the child and put the child in track, talk with the child when required. So all those are, disadvantages on an online platform. I have not personally come across this peer pressure, honestly. But these are the things, points which I would say that, children are facing and teachers are also facing, and it's quite challenging.
Right. Sir, Venkat sir?
Well, peer pressure is a universal problem, irrespective of platforms. In the sense, particularly from, learning or performance education point of view, the peer pressure will always be there, irrespective of whether it is online. That's the typical human psychology, I should say. And when it comes to students, of course, they are too young to avoid that particular problem. Very recently in Odisha itself, there is a wonderful, surprising thing that had happened, that few students of class 10th, they went and protested, they came onto the roads and protested that they don't want offline exams. And they started blaming the government, saying that, how can you conduct exams in the campus at the cost of our health and all that. So the government decided that they go for online exams. So post-online exams, pass percentage was good, but those who were into the, those who were pretty competitive and were like those elite category of students, they had issues with the marks what they got in online mode. And then there were a lot of protests again that this kind of online results are not acceptable. And then so the government had to take a decision that, okay, those who want to give, improve their performance or something of that kind can have an offline exam now.
Right.
So actually speaking, it's got nothing to do with whether online or offline. Yes, online, of course, because the questions certainly will not be that easier considering the monitoring systems what we have in online exams and all that. So even if it's an open book kind of a thing, the questions will be tougher and all that. So, but then you have all those aids next to you. So each one has its own merits and demerits. But yes.
Yeah.
So what I'm coming back to the peer pressure part of thing is, like there were some comparisons done by one small girl, a student, who started comparing, students from that government schools, they performed, they got these many marks, while I go to a private. So what I was trying to actually analyze in that particular student was the kind of, the psychology of the student, like who is performing better, and like she is into the competition for the marks. So irrespective of the mode of teaching, be it online or offline, peer pressure will always be there.
Right, right. And sir, you mentioned a little while back in the previous question about the online labs and everything. So I want to touch base that also, and you can, continue your thoughts on that as well. That so how difficult or easy, or how can we improve online part of labs and experiments and those kind of things? Because I think other three panelists are not dealing with those. Probably Kanta ma'am has some students of 11th and 12th where, but for the labs and online teaching part of the experimentation, and where they have to hold things and where they have to, get the result. So chemistry labs, physics labs. So what are your thoughts on that? Like how we can improve on those things?
No, coming to this, there has been a good initiative by the IITs, even much before the pandemic, that they had introduced something called virtual labs. In fact, my college happens to be the nodal center for virtual labs in Odisha.
Right.
It was certified by IIT Kharagpur. So these software are like open source. The students can access anytime. The teachers can access them. So while teaching these virtual labs, they will just log on onto the site, virtual lab site, and then avail those experiments and all. But then, yes, coming back to the earlier point, what I was saying, wherever skill enhancement or hands-on feel is required, that factor certainly
It's still
requires
missing.
Yes, is still missing, and then some more animated or with simulated aspects have got to be, some kind of software has to be built up which can give the feel. Probably like if suppose I use an arrow, so I can move an item what I have placed on a lathe machine. I can shift it right or left and then try to align with something. So these kind of things, these facilities should come out of the keyboard. So matter of time.
Yeah, like they say, need is the mother of the discovery.
Yes.
Something like that, right?
Yeah,
Shias can help me with the right code.
Yeah, necessity,
is this the right
of course.
one? So yes, Kanta ma'am, your views on this? Like
exactly. Practical is practical. I think so. Practical is practical. If we are not doing, then how can we say this is practical? ऐसे हम YouTube पर सारी हम वीडियोस देख लेंगे, बच्चे को नॉलेज भी दे देंगे कि ये इस तरह से होगा, आप ये प्रैक्टिकल करिए. But I think so कि personal attention, individual attention is compulsory for practice. Student can see the practical on YouTube or through any other device, but he can't do practical. Practical requires teachers' individual attention. Teacher will tell, do this and do this type, and you can and teacher can check whether students learn it or not. But उसमें आपने देखा कि हाँ ये ऐसे ऐसे हो जाएगा, बट हुआ कि नहीं हुआ वो टीचर चेक नहीं कर पाएगी. तो
Right.
मैं
Right.
आई थिंक सो कि प्रैक्टिकल हम बिना उसके ऑफलाइन के हम नहीं सिखा सकते.
नहीं सिखा सकते.
And one more thing is, I think all the practical tests cannot happen virtually, if I'm not wrong.
Correct.
There are certain hindrances in conducting the test.
Yeah.
So you
that
are constrained
is a
with the number of
Yeah.
tests which you can perform on an online virtual platform.
Right. Right. She asked your thoughts on it.
Yeah, see, I just forgot to mention one point, right? One important thing we need to focus on in this COVID period or online education context is a serious relook at the very epistemic structure of the classroom transaction, right? You cannot think it in terms of the earlier classroom context, right? We are looking at curriculum differently. We are looking at pedagogic practices differently. We are looking at assessment procedures differently. So that's why government is talking about foundational literacy at the earlier students' context. We need to look at curriculum in a different perspective, not in terms of the content one by one, things like that. Okay, you need to think in terms of certain skills and certain efficiencies other than the so-called curriculum components, which we are so familiar in our regular context. So I think peer pressure and these kind of issues are no longer valid if you think the year 2021 as a period for stabilizing the essential skills of the students rather than imparting them newer and newer inputs of information. So I think that's very important. We are living in a new period, but we are focusing on the same curriculum pressures, the same pedagogic concerns. So we need to have a serious relook at the curriculum procedures and epistemological structures so that many of our concerns can be meaningfully addressed, right? There's no point in teaching the same age-old curriculum components even at this point of time, right? And regarding the practical, of course, I have read some articles on the use of practicals for medical students, right? They are doing very complicated, experimentation technologically. It's a global project incorporating so many countries. So they need doctors seriously. The number of doctors are very minimum, very less in those countries. So they are thinking of some collaborative global projects. And in these projects, very complex, very, very, very complicated procedures, especially in the context of surgery and things like that. They're trying a technological support for that. So if that is happening, I don't think it's difficult for in school context also, as Rengit was saying, we need to have little more explorations and inquiries in that matter. That's my
correct. Like we are in nascent stages right now.
Exactly.
When it is concerned to the practicals and experiments. So yes, we need to evolve out of it and yes, then
we need to watch the
yeah.
global practices also. We need to watch global practices in advanced countries and nations, how these people are doing technology. Not in our own limited way. We need to see things happening around, right? We can even look at our own perspective in this context. We need not look at West all the time. Instead, you can get some model from your own state or your own nation. At the same time, you also watch the West for these interesting practices and experimentations. It's a true, right? Yeah,
true. Okay. Last question of this segment is how to deal with developing multidisciplinary prospects of technical education. So, Venkat sir, would you like to answer first? Because this is again for the students of, a little bigger students,
Yes. Firstly, when we talk about multidisciplinary projects, what we generally do is involve all branches of engineering and together they build a project, so that we groom them, make them industry ready. So in this, the practical problem, what I personally have experienced is floating the idea, planning the project, then deciding the circuit diagrams, the automation programming part of things, and all those things are quite can be always done online. But ultimately, the project model has to come only with physical presence of the students, and they themselves have to actually build those things.
Correct.
So that's where during the first phase of the pandemic, after the whatever little bit of breathing period we got after the first lockdown, major lockdown. During that lockdown, we had some 118 meetings exclusively for the deciding the projects. But we had brought all the projects up to a stage where the next thing was like reach and then start constructing them. So luckily that particular thing could be achieved within a month because rest all things were well planned. But yes. So, but to conclude on this particular point, I would say yes, physical presence is must. The entire project cannot be taken up.
Right. Shias, do you have any insights on this one?
Yeah, I think I was really
waiting for this one.
Yeah. And not that I was really listening to Venkat sir because he will have interesting ideas. But if you read the national education policy recently announced, this multidisciplinarity is really, really seriously stressed, right? If you take, for example, issues of environmental issues, so what are the strategies for addressing those issues? You cannot solve that issue with a just single brand, You need technology, you need biology, you need social science, you need economics, right? So for that matter, whatever the issue afflicting the world today, right? You cannot have a single discipline-based solution. So multidisciplinarity is always interesting. However, there are people talking that multidisciplinarity is a little more less dangerous in the sense that, you don't have that interdisciplinarity, When a student is learning different branches independently, that is not going to be really, really troubling, for the system, for the state. You're supporting for a globalized workforce. You don't get very thinking kind of individuals. You get very up-to-date, so-called corporatized individuals through this multidisciplinarity. Instead, if you try interdisciplinarity, when history and technology is mixed, you have a space in between. That is becoming very, very problematic terrain. You get very critical individuals. We get students who are very critically inclined. Once you, put, we call intersectionalities, interdisciplinary, intersectional studies, So I think there are some serious scholars looking at the political dimensions of multidisciplinarity because you are making students very nice people, very decent people without asking very, very complicated questions. The state doesn't have any problem with this kind of people, very nice people trying for a job in government sector, living with the family, trying to get the pension and decently dying, right? So that kind of a political reading is also attached on this multidisciplinarity. I haven't done serious research on that. I think better than multidisciplinarity, we need serious interdisciplinarity or intersectional studies. That is what is happening globally to make children more socially conscious, more critically sensible, and more interventionist in nature. Thank you.
Interesting take on that, Cheers. And I don't know if Venkat sir got few points from this one to be included.
This has been, whatever he has said has been pretty educative for me in the sense. To begin with, what is important is to set short-term goals, short-term achievable goals first, and then
move from there. And I think earlier, Shias has suggested one more thing, that collaborative teaching. That also fits here as well in multidisciplinary environment. of the things that if we, at least if we cannot put students together, at least we can put a couple of teachers together and probably make it happen. From there, we can go ahead and do more things.
No, of course,
Yeah.
whenever we have online sessions for multidisciplinary projects,
Yeah.
like we have a technical advisory committee comprising all the heads of the department of various, various departments, the particular group of students who deal with that particular project. And we
Yeah.
deal a group of maybe 6 to 8 students only
Yeah.
for a particular project on a very
Right.
higher side. And then we have, a mentor, dedicated mentor for that particular group who, helps them in planning. But yes, all these things you can bring only up to, only
Certain.
when 75% of the job is done. The rest 25% requires.
What
Requires,
happens if a particular student has not submitted the project? Since they are not young and they have to do their work and it involves marks. So how do you go about it?
No, I mean, to be very frank, NEP 2020, what Shreya was mentioning, to be very frank, because I don't originally, come from the academic background, I had no clue about NEP 2020 till I implemented this multidisciplinary projects kind of a thing way back in 2019. Then somebody told me what you're trying to do is what is there in NEP 2020. Well, I said, oh, that may be sheer coincidence, but what I'm looking forward to is now the project. So there was a lot of reluctance even from the academicians, like how to assess. How, suppose if there is one student who is from the civil engineering branch and is a part of the project which is developing maybe some, suppose if it's an automatic wall painting machine. So it has element of civil engineering, mechanical engineering, the electronics part of it, the computer science guys, they have to do the automation and all that stuff. So the anticipated problems included, like how is an external examiner going to evaluate a student based on one common project that has been developed?
Correct.
I said, let's change the rules. Let the project report be signed by 5 examiners. Let's have 5 examiners who will be, certifying that project. So the contribution is well understood from each student who has contributed what by the concerned branch exam. So that's how we address this problem.
Yeah. Okay, then let's move on to the third category of it, which is about parents, because we have already talked about teachers, we have already spoke about students. Now let's talk about the third part of the puzzle. How do you deal with the scrutiny from parents as classrooms are in their homes now, specifically for smaller kids? Also, do you think students and parents understand your perspective as teachers, your pain points, your efforts which you are putting to teach them? And I know it's a multiple question, but would some counseling sessions for a cumulative understanding of each other help? I know Kanta ma'am has brought that point in for one of our earlier questions. So I would like her to start this time, and then we can move forward.
Yeah. This is the most important question for today. जो भी हमने टॉपिक रखा है ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन, ऑनलाइन टीचिंग, the most important question is based on online education. In offline teaching, parents were not directly linked with the teacher. Only on parents meeting, in parents meeting, teachers and parents were discuss the problem or good work of their ward in parents meeting. But now every minute parent is scrutining the teacher. Teacher is in their house ही बोलो है ना, वो हर समय टीचर के क्या एफर्ट्स हैं, करेक्ट, बिल्कुल आपका क्वेश्चन है, टीचर के क्या एफर्ट्स हैं टीचर अपने से बेस्ट उस सर्कमस्टेंसेस में क्या बच्चों को देने की कोशिश कर रही है, दे नेवर बॉदर। उनका ध्यान कई बार, मैं बहुत छोटा सी एक बात बोलूंगी, इस बात पर रहता है कि टीचर ने क्या पहना है, और वो साथ साथ वही डिस्कस करने लगते हैं, मम्मी पापा वही डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। ये मेरे सामने, मतलब मैंने खुद देखा कि मैंने भी क्लास ज्वाइन कर रखी है और पेरेंट्स बोल रहा है, और ये टीचर के लिए कितना हैरिशमेंट है कि कुछ रिएक्ट नहीं कर सकता। तो आई थिंक सो कि टीचर अपने एफर्ट्स कर रही है, नो प्रॉब्लम, क्योंकि वो उसे ऑफलाइन में भी करने हैं, वो उसे ऑनलाइन में भी कर रही है, लेकिन उस समय अगर कोई प्रॉब्लम भी पेरेंट्स को है, then parents should not disturb the teacher, because other 39 or 24 or 25 students are also, she's teaching other students also, but without any problem, parent ask the teacher. टीचर नहीं तो उनके क्वेश्चन का उस तरह से आंसर दे पाती है, और पेरेंट भी सेटिस्फाई नहीं होता। एंड बीइंग ए academic in charge, I can't answer their question at that time, because because other students are also listening, other parents are also listening their problems. तो इसमें इस एक ही प्रॉब्लम, एक ही इसका सोल्यूशन है अकॉर्डिंग टू मी, parents should wait and discuss if they have any problem with the teacher or any problem in her teaching or in his teaching. They should discuss this problem with vice principal or with the academic in charge or with their coordinator, because in offline teaching they do like this. उस समय क्लास को डिस्टर्ब करना पेरेंट्स को भी नहीं करना चाहिए, उन्हें सोचना चाहिए कि दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम। इफ टीचर की जगह वो हूँ तो क्या उन्हें ये सही लगता? तो ये चीज जब हम बच्चों के पार्ट पर आते हैं कि देयर आर सो मेनी स्टूडेंट्स हु लीव द क्लास एंड डू वीडियोस ऑफ और कैमरा ऑफ, देन पेरेंट्स को ये चीजें खुद से देखनी चाहिए। आई थिंक सो कि दिस टाइम पेरेंट्स थिंक कि टीचर आर नॉट डूइंग नथिंग, टीचर इज गिविंग लेक्चर and they are in rest, but reality not reality. I think so teacher is doing more work, more efforts for the student. Parents are not realizing. I realize because I supervise the teachers, I guide them, my teachers. Many times I told my teachers to have patience. कुछ नहीं आप कर सकते, आप बदले में उस तरह से तो रिएक्ट ही नहीं कर सकते। इसलिए आई थिंक सो कि पेरेंट्स को हर व्यक्ति, एक पेरेंट भी है, एक टीचर भी है, और क्योंकि वो घर में है, वो देख रहा है, तो उसको भी पेशेंस के साथ ही अपनी कोऑर्डिनेटर्स को डील करें, उनसे बातचीत करें। और इसके लिए हमारा एक बेटर ऑप्शन यही है कि हम वर्चुअल उनकी मीटिंग लें, उनकी प्रॉब्लम हम सुन सकते। तो उससे क्या है कि उनका जो वो डिससैटिस्फैक्शन वहां पर है, वो उनका पेरेंट्स मीटिंग में, वर्चुअल मीटिंग से भी डील हो सकता है।
Right. So that rather than disturbing the class and making teacher conscious or maybe a bit disrespectful about them, they should wait their chance to get that resolved in teacher parents meeting.
और साथ ही साथ टीचर को तो ऊपर एक और प्रेशर है कि उसे सिलेबस भी कंप्लीट करना है। एक्स्ट्रा क्लास भी टीचर नहीं ले पाती है ऑनलाइन में। वहां तो हम लोग भी मैनेज करते थे कि कोई बात नहीं, जो वीक स्टूडेंट्स हैं, जिनका सिलेबस नहीं हुआ है, आप प्लीज इनकी एक्स्ट्रा क्लास लेके इनको कवर कराने की कोशिश करिए, है ना। तो देयर आर सो मेनी प्रॉब्लम जो पेरेंट्स को समझनी चाहिए।
Right. So one counseling suggestion I got from ma'am that they need to be a little patient and
virtual counseling or virtual discussion,
right.
है ना?
Right.
I think so.
So
please continue.
This is a very interesting question to answer. Because we face this problem every day. So let's speak about, there are two aspects to it. One is the offline school, where we used to have a counselor on board who used to come to school every day. So if there is a problem with a child, we used to write a complete report on the observation, which is done. And we used to present it to the counselor who will take it forward, right? So the counselor was playing a very vital role because she is basically meant for that. She can deal with a child and she knows how to take that particular step forward. On an online platform, I seriously feel and suggest that a counselor should be there. The teacher should be easily, should not be answering many questions, and it is not possible. We don't have that time now. As Kanta ma'am said, we'll have to complete the syllabus, we'll have to do X, Y, Z, given that very small compartment of time, 40 minutes. So these things do take an extra time, which is not available with us on a virtual platform. So a counselor is a must. Whatever observation is done by the teacher has to be presented to the counselor, and the counselor has to take it forward from there.
Correct. So, okay. So both recommendations are for counselors or counseling in some form for parents, and in some
not
cases.
Not only for parents, for children as well. See, there are parents who go off to work and they think that these children are attending the online classes, right? And they just switch on the Zoom link and you don't know whether they're even listening or not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Shiyas, your take on it?
Okay, thank you. I would like to give a very disturbing statistics. This year, around 200 children committed suicide in Kerala, right? This COVID period, we lost around 200 children. So when we discuss this point, we need to look at this disturbing information also. Why these children died?
Shiyas, can you come a little closer to the mic?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So this statistic is very disturbing. I think we as a system, as teachers and parents and administrators couldn't prevent these untimely, unexpected, unwanted suicides of our children. So I think as other speakers are saying, counseling is very, very important. Counselors are very important. We need to have a very clear-cut system for identifying such children and intervening. There is no point in having cosmetic presence of counselors within the classroom. Why couldn't we prevent these people? How we failed in identifying the silent period of these children, right? That could be happening in all the states, right? So counseling is important, but counseling has to be a little more sensitive, other than the typical, the kind of, very westernized kind of stuff. We need to have a very culturally sensitive, counseling pieces and strategies so that we can identify from early on and intervene meaningfully. That's my perspective on that. And regarding the parental engagement, I would say that there's some interesting, analysis have been made on this. Earlier, we always talk about the cultural capital of educated parents. Normally the students of these parents perform because they're strong with the primary and the secondary discourses which is happening in the classroom. For example, my children won't be upset about if somebody talking about writing logically in a sequential format, because I do discuss these things with my children in my dining table, right? So being a third generation parents, I can afford that. But unfortunately, that kind of a discussions or debates are impossible from a first generation learner. They cannot talk about, they don't have a dictionary, they don't have an English newspaper at their home. So the secondary discourse efficiency is natural with my children because they are living in such a scenario. But in this online context, when these educated parents are going for work, the students have no other option. You know, they are alone at home and they don't get any support, whereas the so-called uneducated parents are really supporting them. They're performing their duty responsibly. There's a kind of a reversal, you know, happening in this context. Secondly, I think we need to understand, we often say, you know, if you want to teach Raman mathematics, you should know Raman better than mathematics. It's so powerful, so popular, almost mythical kind of a statement. But normally, we couldn't do this kind of an analysis of the family context of children, in spite of the fact that we often talk about this in educational discourse. But here is a chance you understand the children very closely, their background, their family context, their socioeconomic status. So here is a golden opportunity to evolve your own teaching, learning practices and perspectives. Your pedagogic perspectives can be really inspired by the real socioeconomic context of the children. So you can make your learning strategies, teaching strategies more learner friendly, more their context friendly, more their socioeconomic status friendly, and things like that. This is a golden opportunity, but teachers need to be engaging with the parents. It's not a kind of a complaining and you know, that kind of typical power relation should be dispensed with. We need to have very open-ended, very meaningful, very understanding kind of communication. We need to even think of a new language, right? So it's told we don't even have a language to communicate with the parents. The teachers community often failed in communicating with the parents meaningfully. I remember there was an incident in my school. A student was, you know, identified for a misbehavior, and suddenly my teacher friends were talking about inviting the parents and telling everything to that parent. And I said, we are getting salary, we are getting training, we are getting promotion, we are getting increments and grades, not these poor parents. So it's not good to be inviting the parents and giving all the issues to the student. It's to the parent that concern. So for that, I think we need meaningful conversation, engagement with the parents. So I think we need to explore the home context. I think this is a golden chance for that. You know, you explore the home context, the parent, the mother, siblings, other members of the society, other members of the family, the spaces within the house, right? These are all interesting. The kitchen, right? It's a very progressive space for a chemistry teacher. So we are not exploring all these wonderful spaces, and we are always talking about, you know, punishing students, you know, keeping them as old persons, things like that. We need to have a very progressive, very, very, up-to-date perspective on parents as a co-creators, right? Co-constructors, just like a teacher. You know, recent literature talking about making classroom teacher-proof. You know, you can't depend on teachers entirely. You know, they are talking about teacher-proof. So they write materials accordingly, right? They write materials so that everybody understands, even without the help of a teacher. So these are all discussions happening. So my point is that we need to have a real serious perspective on teaching and teacher profession seriously in this online context, in this COVID context. Thank you.
Correct. Interesting perspective, Shiaz. Venkat sir?
Yeah, I agree with whatever all the three speakers have said. Certainly the parents need to be counseled. And probably it's time that, like, grooming a student is one, the professional aspect, that is, you know, imparting the knowledge specific to subject and all. That is the behavioral aspect. Probably the behavioral aspect part of it now needs to get transferred to the parents.
Correct. And their own behavioral aspects also, like both. Yeah, so counseling is needed at both ends. And yes, it has to be a collaborative effort, like Shia said. And Kanta ma'am and Pavitra also pointed out the same thing, that then we need to be conscious as parents and teachers both, that what we are saying, in what environment we are saying, and how we are saying that thing. Until and unless we all understand that, and because I'm a counselor, so yes, I can relate to all those things, that we need to be actually really correct about this. Otherwise, that puzzle will not complete. Yeah. So good points from all of you. And now the last question of this segment is, how much supervision is necessary for students, you think, of class 11th and above, and for college as well, online environment, because they are there and they are entering into the age where they need their privacy and trust need to be built on new grounds. So what kind of supervision level you guys think that we should give them as educators to different ages of students? Pavitra?
You're talking about supervision.
Yes, like what kind of supervision we should be providing to our young students or students who are
Be it any age group, the way I look at it on a virtual platform is, again and again, the answer is somehow it comes to the same point, because the child is not accessible. The parents need to cooperate 100%. They have to be vigilant. They have to ensure that the work is done and given to the teacher. The teacher is helpless. They should understand that. If suppose the work is not done from the student's point of view, then probably we can ask them in the class and call them up and ask, but it has to come from there.
Right.
So considering the fact that we are helpless and the ball is in their court, calls for diligent work from their end.
So some responsibility shift
absolutely
needs to be there.
And parents need to be extremely vigilant on this aspect and keep the ball rolling till we get back to normalcy, actual normalcy.
Right. See, before I ask any of you to answer it, I just want to quote one incident. I was speaking with the 11th grade student, and I asked the same question to him, that do you like to be supervised, and what is your take on it? Like, how you are growing up, you want to be free, you want to have your own room, your privacy, your freedom, you have your own friends to trust. Maybe you guys do trust your parents and teachers to a certain extent, but still your friends are the more trustworthy people at this age of your life. So his answer somehow, made me also realize that, okay, whatever we think from students' perspective is not completely correct. What he said is that, ma'am, we are at the end of the day students, we like supervision. We need supervision. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमको नहीं चाहिए. अगर नहीं होगा तो कैसे आगे हैंडल करेंगे? तो वो तो चाहिए, लेकिन हमको अपना, क्योंकि हम बड़े हो रहे हैं, तो हमको अपना प्राइवेसी भी चाहिए, हमको ट्रस्ट भी चाहिए. बार बार नहीं बोलो कि ये करना है, ये कर लो, हम कर लेंगे, आप आके देख लो. बट we need that, but still we need our freedom and we need our trust. We need that time to build that trust. So just wanted to highlight that so that you have that also in your view while you're answering that.
Dipti, based on the age, okay, since you brought it up, based on which category you're speaking, which age you're dealing with, you'll have to strike a balance of how they have their personal space. At the same time, they are supervised.
Right. Correct.
That has to be there.
Yeah. True. Venkat sir?
Supervision is required not just for students, even for the grown-ups. That's the reason we have all industries with a particular appointment or vacancy called
supervisor. Correct.
So, so supervising is a mandatory thing as far as things are. But yes, coming to the online mode, yes, again, we really need to exploit the technology. Permit them only to raise hands, like no cross messaging, and all those things.
We need to.
I'm optimistic as far as technology is concerned.
Yes. Kanta ma'am?
Exactly, मैं भी इसी बात से एग्री करती हूँ कि सुपरविजन तो उन्हें चाहिए, लेकिन सुपरविजन उन्हें अब एक इंस्ट्रक्टर की तरह नहीं चाहिए होता है. तो उसमें जैसे हम ऑनलाइन टीचिंग में हम करते हैं कि एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हर क्लास से है, उसी तरह से हम यहाँ भी मैनेज कर सकते हैं. कि हर एक बच्चा एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव क्लास का है, कि बच्चे आपस में बात करते हैं, उनको उनकी प्रॉब्लम ज्यादा आसानी से पता होती है बजाय इसके कि हमें उनकी प्रॉब्लम बताएं। उनकी प्रॉब्लम सुनना और उन्हें सुपरवाइज करना इस एज में सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट। तो क्योंकि वो अपने क्लासमेट्स को वो सारी बातें शेयर करते हैं जो वो हमसे नहीं कर सकते, तो एग्जैक्टली हमें ऑनलाइन टीचिंग में भी एक बच्चे को क्लास का रिप्रेजेंटेटिव बनाकर, जस्ट लाइक ए टीम और यंग ब्रिगेड, वी शुड गिव देम रिप्रेजेंटेटिव we should give appoint a representative for each and every class. Then representative, we should have a meeting with representative in a week or in a month. Then we may know, we will be able to know their individual, their academic and their any other problem. And then we may guide them as a friend, not as a supervisor. We should have an eye on them, but not being a supervisor, but as a friend. We should develop faith in us so that they may rely on us and they may change themselves. Because जिसको वो परेशान है या उनकी वो उस तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स है जिसे हम समझ सकते हैं कि उस एज में उनके लिए हमारे अंदर विश्वास पैदा करना सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है. If they believe us, then they will share all the problems, and then we will be able to guide them properly. पेरेंट को वो नहीं बताएंगे, इंस्ट्रक्टर को वो नहीं बताएंगे, टीचर्स को भी बहुत कम बताएंगे. तो इस एज में हम उन्हीं से एज ए फ्रेंड उनके रिप्रेजेंटेटिव बनाकर उनकी प्रॉब्लम ले सकते हैं. देन वी शुड डेवलप फेथ इन अस एंड देन वी विल गाइड देम.
राइट. हम लोग उन्हीं की सुनते हैं ना जिनके ऊपर भरोसा करते हैं, जिन पे विश्वास होता है. अदरवाइज क्यों सुनना है? हाँ. सही. और अगर हमने उनकी प्रॉब्लम सुन के भी अगर हमने उनको पनिशमेंट देने की कोशिश की, they will never tell us again. करेक्ट. वो करेंगे जब हम उनके फेथ को मेंटेन रखेंगे, उन्हें विश्वास होगा कि मैम विल हेल्प अस. राइट. सुपरविजन नेसेसरी फॉर देम आल्सो. Shias, your take on it?
So I'm very happy about this idea of a very non-invasive kind of a supervision. I think we can even think of a better word for that. Supervision brings in the element of behavioristic inclinations. We should have a better category for watching children, observing children, and supporting them. We are doing it for supporting them, not for assessing them. If you think in terms of learning for and is assessment, not learning of assessment. So that's a very important point. But these days the rights of children are so very, very important, right? We have rights commission of children and things like that. Yeah. So we won't be able to insist on keeping them on the camera on and getting themselves visible. So sometimes we ask them if they are interested, they are doing it. If not, we cannot insist on that. We have some complaints coming from your state that certain college teachers are not that exciting in terms of their performance with the students in the online context. So that's a big issue. We need to have a very, very progressive, learner-friendly, psychologically correct, rights-conscious approach. My point here is that we need to think of, assessment and observations not just as a sole prerogative of teacher. So we need to think of extended assessment identities. Instead of teacher, you can have other students, the parents, the students themselves. So teacher is no longer the central agency of assessment, just a central bureau of investigation. Teacher cannot be the central, agency of assessment. It's very, very problematic. We need to have very learner-friendly, non-invasive, democratic assessment protocols within the classroom. We should think of some very interesting strategies like, instead of waiting for a particular exam for assessing children, we should focus the trajectory of the children, right? That's very important, how the children reach that point rather than assessing that particular point and the performance of the student. So we need to have very, very creative, innovative assessment procedures. Finally, you know, if my memory is right, the other progressive strategies like portfolios, right? You know, that idea of portfolio, electronic portfolio, where children are identifying their own products, they write their reflections on that, they get comments from some of their friends and parents. So you understand the history of their evolution. It's a very longitudinal way of assessing children than on a particular pointed assessment. We need, I think, this time is for that kind of reinventing assessment protocols within the classroom, and teachers are progress. Nobody likes, you know, if you remember your own school days, you know, who is a better assessor for you, your teacher or your friend? Definitely you'll be your friend. So we know that, you know, we are the last person, maybe no other way out for that. We need to have a role, but till then, till that role, we need to think of very many assessment identities within the classroom, so that the children will feel more comfortable and relaxed.
Correct, correct. True that. Okay, so let's move on to our last segment of questions, and then you all can exit with an exit answer. So, so last segment is transition and advancement in learning methodology. Like what we have learned in these past 1.5 years and how do we want to go ahead from here. So my first question is, since past 1.5 years, it is online learning only. Now colleges are about to open, or some colleges are already open. And schools will also open in some time, hopefully. So how are you and your institutions are planning to incorporate continued and accelerated learning in offline and online environments? Any specific measures planned to be in place which you would like to share so that others can also get benefited from them? And how children are going to get back to their actual normalcy of going to schools, colleges, you know, like they were back in the days. So, Venkat sir?
Well, I see that's given a chance. See, it's been luxury for the students to have actually attended the online classes.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Though, I mean, I won't say luxury in the sense, despite the compulsion under which this had to be done. But what I personally observed, or still I'm observing, is till such time you don't declare that the college or the school gates are open once again for you guys to come. They are, you know, like going all gaga about criticizing online systems and then expecting the schools to reopen. But there is always a reluctance just few days prior to the actual reopen. So that mind setup needs to be changed. That's where again the role of the parents and all that will come. But I personally feel that to the level to which the society or the whole humanity has accepted this online mode of teaching, let's not leave it behind. In the sense, we continue to keep it as a part of our curriculum, because an emergency is something you can't predict. So that's the whole reason it's called an emergency. So we better get geared and probably geared up, and we probably improve our technology and all that, refine, improve to meet any contingency at a later stage. Yeah, so like bring in balance between offline and online education. Yes. Don't leave it behind, so that if we need it again, then we are handy with it. We don't forget. No. Once again, we'll go into that temporary mode. So, yeah. So there has to be some component of online learning continuing, so that it is part of the system for long, is what I'm getting from you. Yeah. Pavitra?
Do you think it will happen, sir? Once the schools and colleges reopen, do you think that the online platform will still exist?
Yes, of course, in the sense, whatever some students who require extra attention or those extra classes.
So that's a brilliant idea for people who are slow learners and who need a little more push from the teacher's side. But do you think the institutions will encourage this platform? Because now we don't have a choice, we are just doing it.
Well, so that is exactly where I'm saying. So unless we keep in touch with something, it's left behind.
Right. That's
now how? Because
and then we'll think about, did we do this someday?
No, see, it's not necessarily education always. What I mean to say is, suppose you
you
have a second Saturday and a Sunday. So instead of you having a classroom, whatever extracurricular activity, you have it online. Right. So the trend of that, use of online.
So basically, you're saying keep in touch with technology.
Keep in touch with technology.
Yeah.
So you think that it's feasible, Pavitra, that we should
that
maintain?
Depends on the management, Deepti. Teachers will not have a say in that. Honestly speaking, that depends on the institution and the management what call they take. Right?
I think they will be able to make more children.
But as Sir says,
learn.
I mean, logically, if you have to think about it, it would be great if we have an online session for children who need that, special attention from the teacher, which cannot be given otherwise on an offline platform, because we'll be working from morning 9 to 3.
Correct.
So all children will not stay back after school. So at that time, the online platform will become handy. It will become,
True. And I think from management perspective, if Kanta ma'am can also tell that I think they will be able to make more children learn, so they won't have a problem kind of with online mode of teaching as well.
Really, they should not have any problem.
Yeah. Yes, Kanta ma'am.
हाँ, देखिए इसमें ये है कि क्वेश्चन इंटरेस्टिंग है और अभी जैसे मैं सुन रही हूँ कि वेंकटेश सर कह रहे हैं और मिस पवित्रा भी कह रही हैं कि हम उन बच्चों को जो वीकर स्टूडेंट्स हैं उन्हें हम एक्स्ट्रा में ऑनलाइन टीचिंग में हेल्प कर सकते हैं, बट आई थिंक सो अगर हम ऑनलाइन ऑफलाइन दोनों ऑप्शन रखते हैं तो स्टूडेंट्स विल नॉट कम टू स्कूल. Students come to school. Very few students will come to school, and I think so कि teacher will not be comfortable because teacher has to teach 2 times. In online teaching also she has to complete the chapter, and in offline also, because we have started in our school for 1 or 2 months last year, but teacher and all of us were not comfortable because teacher has to work in 2 shifts, I think so. In morning she was teaching in online education, and after completion of that timetable she has to teach in offline classes.
Not totally, ma'am. Not totally, but just a reflection of what is being taught in the class. See, there are children who cannot catch the concept of what is being taught in one shot.
Exactly, I agree with you. If the student is weak, then she may teach them online. Otherwise, students come to school and school should follow all the safety measures, and according to government orders, the school should be open.
मैम सबका टाइम बच रहा है, ट्रैवल टाइम बच रहा है सबका ऑनलाइन में, क्यों जाना है?
Fuel.
है ना?
After some time, she will not like to come to school because she is at home, she is comfortable.
That is already there now.
Yeah, it's already there.
Because see, 2 years is a very long period for a child to get back to normalcy. That was your second part of the question.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job. It will take a toll because they are sitting in their comfort zone and they're not having any discipline, any decorum.
No.
and I mean, it's from everybody's point of view. For teachers also, I would feel that teaching is difficult in online mode of it, but there are certain things which can be achieved while you are at home as a teacher.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
so that is also one point which, even small things which you can achieve while you are at home, and you are
Yeah.
saving half an hour, 15 minutes, 1 hour, whatever you are spending in the travel. Although
Yeah,
you are also missing out on your friends and chit chat, and yes, but
correct.
yeah, I know pros are little
Yes,
lesser
pros
than,
and cons
yeah,
are there.
yeah,
Deepti.
yeah,
In fact, when you
correct.
come to corrections, when you're
Right.
talking about the disadvantages,
Yeah,
corrections are a big mess in the sense, you'll have to literally zoom the images. Half the images will not be, properly sent. Things like that.
yeah, correct.
No,
correct.
also we can think of having this online system the other way around. The students in the classroom, the teacher is in
Teacher
the
online.
virtual.
Yeah.
And why
Yeah.
not?
Make it easier for us.
Now, yes, it will make
Yeah.
things
That
easier.
should
Make
become
it easier
the
for us.
principle, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. No, we
Yeah.
So see, the certain good things what have happened in this pandemic is this only, like all these webinars and all that, whatever people have now, you don't have any guest speaker coming from traveling all the way from some corner of the country and then trying to deliver something.
I am the one. Yeah.
That we can just speak, sir. I don't think it'll ever
Yeah.
happen.
Right. Okay,
No, it is
Shiaz is
acceptable. Acceptance by the management is
Yeah,
going to be the
correct.
only.
Okay, Shiaz is waiting.
See,
Tell us, sir.
the idea of webinar is interesting, but the idea of visiting Bangalore is more more interesting than talking over a
Yeah. You
webinar
can
like
come
this,
to
right?
Bangalore and you can meet at least 2 of us here,
Definitely, right?
and we
So
can
I
do a get together of all
given
of
these
us
two
as well.
options, webinar or personal visit to Bangalore, I would go for the second one, right? So
Yeah.
that's the humorous side of it.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. The idea that you meant that the blended mode is going to be staying back, or the dual mode is going to be staying back. That's very interesting. We have no other option, right? If you ask the children, which mode you prefer, most probably they'll be opting the online mode, right? Because
Yeah.
they're quite
Correct.
used to it. They are very excited about that. Maybe that they're quite accustomed to it, rather than the so they'll be opting that. So I think other than these issues, what are we going to do once we reopen? That's also a very important important issue that we need to discuss. So many proposals are made in different parts of the world. Some nations are repeating the complete year, right? Certain countries are doing that. Some other nations are trying to extend the period and durations of the course, right? Some others are trying for personal tutoring, things like that. Personal tutoring program, as somebody was saying, to engage these underperforming students. So Britain has a big project for personalized tutoring program, and for that they are incorporating university graduates and college students. So it's a very innovative project. Or the last one is the idea of synthesizing the curriculum component, compacting curriculum component for an accelerated kind of a strategy. So we haven't thought of what should be the strategy that we should be following in India. I think that is a really an interesting point, important point. We as teachers, we need to think about that also. How are we going to compensate for the learning loss, right? That's also an important point, right? Some people say that they have lost not just learning, they have lost nutrition, they have cognitive loss, and so many other losses. But some other people are saying that no, they haven't lost anything, they have gained many things than that they have received from the school. But this loss is a real issue. What are we going to do for compensating this? So we need to have a very compensatory curriculum instead of remediation curriculum. Remediation, the problematic dimension of remediation is that the child is only responsible, right? Remediation system is not responsible. That word is very problematic, because that's why NCF 2005 makes a mention like that. We cannot use remediation any longer, because the whole fault is put on the shoulder of the children by particularly using that word. So instead of trying for a remediation means, teacher will be eliminating certain components and they'll be doing the same traditional pattern, pressurizing all students. that is going to be affecting low socioeconomic status students definitely in a negative way. Even though we are thinking that we are doing a lot of work, we are trying for supporting children, but in the if you read it closely, that is going to be impacting our students from low socioeconomic status. So we need to have a very clear-cut, learner-friendly procedure for compensating. So we need to have I think an NEP also said certain things like, core competence. If you read that, you will find elements like core competence assessment. I think they have implemented.
Correct. Yes.
Also holistic curriculum, reduced curriculum. So I think our NEP hasn't really considered COVID scenario, but somehow they added this point in the NEP. I think that kind of a very reduced but pertinent curriculum assessment need to be instilled, other than teaching from page 1 to page 250. That information is everywhere available. We are living in a period of information overload, so we don't need textbooks for that. So we need to have very progressive, very up-to-date conception on curriculum and the idea of engaging children in this new context.
Yeah, so basically skill-based, interest-based things need to be more incorporated into the curriculum as well as in teaching styles.
Exactly. That's what new education policy is also saying.
Yeah. My last question from this segment before I ask all of you the exit question is, any tips you would like to give each other and the educator community which worked for you and your age group of students? So anything which comes to your mind which you think has improved your life, your students' lives while you were working on it, so that we all can be benefited from it. Kanta ma'am?
या एग्जैक्टली मैं तो यही बोलूंगी कि जैसे मैंने लास्ट टाइम भी बोला था जब हमारा डिस्कशन हुआ कि वी आर टीचर, वी कैन डू इम्पॉसिबल वर्क. टीचर के अंदर वो गट्स हैं कि चाहे वो ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन हो, चाहे वो ऑफलाइन एजुकेशन हो, शी कैन डू एवरीथिंग. अगर विष्णुगुप्त नाम सुना होगा सभी ने, अगर विष्णुगुप्त मूर्खों को पढ़ा सकते हैं तो मैं कह सकती हूँ 2 शब्दों में कि टीचर के पास नॉलेज है और वो अपने स्टूडेंट्स में हर तरह से उसे दे सकते, चाहे वो ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन हो, चाहे वो ऑफलाइन एजुकेशन हो. एंड शी शुड डू ऑल्सो. अगर हमारे ऊपर समाज की जिम्मेदारी है तो वी शुड कंप्लीट. We are discussing so many problems. Teacher face this problem, parent face this problem, and student face this problem. But in every circumstance, we should do our best. And जो knowledge हमारे पास है हमें वो देनी ही चाहिए बच्चों को, because we are teacher, and I feel proud being a teacher.
You are an inspiration to us, ma'am. Like those words are like here now.
Impossible task can be done by the teacher.
Yeah.
Teacher से भी यही कहती हूँ कि anyhow you can teach your student.
Correct.
जो आप सिखाना चाहते हो वो आप सिखा सकते हो. तो चाहे हम पेरेंट्स की काउंसलिंग करें, चाहे बच्चों की काउंसलिंग करें, चाहे अपने को मेंटली स्ट्रेस से दूर रखें, but we should do our duty.
Yeah, very impressive message to all the teacher community, ma'am. Okay, Pavitra, we have lost her. So Shiaz, would you like to go next?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Teachers are the most resilient individuals in this COVID period. Almost like the medical warriors, we are also fighting our level best in different, heads, as teachers, as volunteers, as sector magistrates, as coordinators in the collectorate. So we are doing very many things. So I think in that sense, we can be proud of ourselves as teachers, right? Normally people say that we teachers get huge salary for working not seriously. That's a common perception on teachers, right? They have 2 months holiday, right? They need to work from 10 to 4, so very relaxed kind of a work schedule, and they're getting salary and things. But that idea is is no longer valid because society understood the value of teachers. Most of the parents are saying, oh God, somehow, please open the school. We are fed up with, taking care of children. I know everybody's praying to the God. So somehow we don't have to theorize the value and significance of teachers any longer to the larger community. They understood it. They understood the value of teachers and the academic significance of teachers. My another point is that, lots of teachers are experimenting in their classroom. So we need to have a system. I think recently RI, Regional Institute of English, has conducted a seminar, 3-day seminar, in which ordinary teachers who have done something extraordinary were invited for the presentation. There's so many interesting classroom experiences during the COVID period was shared in the program. So these exceptional interventions of teachers need to be documented by the government. And that should be made available through some system so that every teacher anywhere in the world can use it as a reference point. Remember one particular idea, you have in Venkat's jargon, we have, defense research wing, right? Something like that, DRD or something like that. So why can't we think of a research wing for teachers in each district, not in the guidance and headship of the government? It's a teacher community collaborating for serious research and development for managing such crisis in the future also, right? You cannot think that this is just once in 50 years or once in 100 years. That cannot be the position. We can expect similar crisis in any year, any future. So how are we going to manage such crisis? So we need to have serious and continuous research for that. We cannot depend on governments. Governments are very pathetic in almost all the states. Even in Kerala, we know that's very, very, very boring in that sense. For academic enterprise, right? So we have serious discussions happening in Kerala. I am also part of SCRT, right? Why we couldn't, evolve a digital pedagogy? Even though we started Victor's, I think around 15 or 17 years, we couldn't evolve anything creative, innovative as digital pedagogy. So government bodies cannot be depended on, right? So they have lots of other bureaucratic issues and things like that. So we need to have teachers coming together, sitting, collaborating, and evolving a very serious research and development initiative so that we can manage this kind of issues in the future also.
True. So yes, a repository where we can have all the things, all the learnings which as educators we have can be there for others take. Yes.
Exactly.
Sir, Venkat sir.
Okay. I will always emphasize on keeping abreast with technology.
Yeah.
Because the moment when we started the discussion and that put it about the inhibition, what people had to accept the, I mean, it's not just necessarily in this particular field, but overall in life, irrespective of age, irrespective of everything, one should strive to keep abreast with the technological developments. And you need to take out a lot of inhibition. I still have a lot of people whom I know, they don't they don't prefer mobile banking. They say it's associated with fraud, this, that, and all, and so they don't do. But I am one guy who has not visited a bank since 2007.
Yeah.
So
yeah. True. But change is a bit difficult.
But then again, I have 87-year-old friend of mine who is so tech-savvy guy. Like he does everything again on the net. Once in a while, he calls me up in the night and he says, "I feel somebody has hacked my email ID. Thoda dekh loge." So it's all accepting a thing. So what we should learn from this particular thing is to keep abreast with the technology.
My father is also one of those tech savvy people. He's 73 and he keeps on asking things जो कभी-कभी मुझे भी नहीं पता होती है. फिर वो गूगल करनी पड़ती है उनको बताने के लिए कि कैसे करना है. Anyways.
Maybe
So,
that he has a very tech-savvy daughter. Could be that.
yeah. Anyway, Pavitra, your take on it?
I'm sorry, I just had some network issues.
No worries.
So can you just repeat the question?
Yes. Question was, what is your learning or anything which you want others to know that in your experience you learned and you
Be
that
it any
worked for
age,
you?
my suggestion is to the educators is think out of the box. Be very innovative and creative. Not the mundane classroom teaching does not work on an online platform. Because the children are not accessible, and to keep them in our clutches, it's very important to make the classroom innovative and lively and engaging.
They have so many interesting images on the devices other than the teachers to be looking at. So
even
yes.
what the teachers are missing is like achanak beech mein, hey, baith jao. So that if that conversation doesn't take place, they don't get that satisfaction.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, very insightful suggestions from all of you. Now your exit question. Who wants to answer first? I can let you choose this one. Who's more excited to answer? So the question.
I want to go. That's why, I have a program coming at 7. That's why, I'll take.
I think Venkat sir also is time pressed, so you both can answer first. So one positive thing you came across while facilitating education online, which gave you freedom from traditional teaching, is what my exit question.
Yeah, that's it's a anywhere, anytime kind of an enterprise, right? It's a real teacher autonomy. Nobody is to boss you, nobody is to direct you. You're up to your creativity. So it's a wonderful possibility for any teacher in this online context.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
I decide my time just as a businessman. I decide my time, maybe something in the morning, something in the night, right? I walk and teach, I travel and teach, right? It's really breaking the world altogether.
True. Cool. Venkat sir?
Yeah, more or less on the same lines. Like I must have attended, I don't know how many meetings while I was driving. I mean, of course, on long drives, of course. But then
but I also got some
really helped me.
Like
otherwise, I would not have
this meeting, right? I got some interesting friends like Venkat sir through this meeting, some intelligent minds, some working minds.
We can decide some time to land up in Bangalore because I've got a lot of I've got a group of tennis players there. So they keep.
You are also invited to Kerala also, right? It's really my pleasure to have you here. This is raining. It's raining now. It's nice time.
You can't be inviting only one person, okay? Other 3 ladies are there who should also are waiting to be invited.
It's for all.
Yeah. Sir, you were answering.
Here. My point is, training here, it's a nice time to visit. You can enjoy the beauty of it.
Kerala is the land of God. Come on, we will come there. Okay. Yes, sir, you were answering. Venkat sir.
Yeah, so like in next half an hour, I have a Independence Day celebration, which have been like planned by my students, all virtual. So these are things certainly, probably, I would certainly relish at some later stage of life, like, okay, this is how the technology could.
We can celebrate online as well. Yeah.
Online flag hoisting was also done.
Yeah.
I had to tell that group of students. I couldn't attend because I was busy today, but I told them, like, all cameras have got to be on. Please specify the dress code for everyone, including guests. Because once you hoist the flag, be it virtual, and you play the national anthem, each one of you is supposed to stand up.
Yes.
So you be very sure that you do mention the dress code and ask people to put the cameras.
Correct. Kanta ma'am?
Obviously, offline education is better than online, but we can't quit new technology because this develop new skills in all of us. So जैसे अभी वेंकटेश सर ने बोला था कि हमें जो है इस टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ ही हमें आगे बढ़ना चाहिए, वेदर क्लासेस आर ऑन ऑफलाइन एजुकेशन एंड इन ऑनलाइन।
पर आपको मजा क्या आया करने में, वो पूछना है मेरे को तो। कि आपने, हाँ, क्या ऑनलाइन में व्हाट वाज द थिंग व्हिच यू एंजॉयड? आपको क्या करने में अच्छा लगा?
ऑब्वियसली सुपरविजन, एंड सुपरविजन में भी अपने घर में बैठे हैं, घर में बैठे बैठे सुपरविजन कर रहे हैं और एक्टिविटीज मैं देख रही हूँ, घर में बैठे हैं, आराम से रिलैक्स है।
And you can also cook while you look.
करेक्ट करेक्ट। फोन कढ़ाई में नहीं डालना है बस, कुछ कर लेना है। पवित्रा, योर लास्ट।
Keep yourself very positive, spirited. Learning has no boundaries, and online, of course, has given us avenues to learn, which we will not be using it on an offline session.
Right.
Probably we'll be taking the children to the library, explaining stuff, which we don't have that luxury on an online session. So whatever is available, use it to the fullest, and you know, think out of the box is what I would say. Yeah.
Now, on this online context, I have just one thing to say that, I have always been asked by numerous people that if you're taking notes, write it. Like pen, paper pe write it. And I'm more used to of typing it, whether it's phone or any device, I'm more used to typing it. So now it's my age. You also have to type it because nobody is going to give you any lecture which you have to write it on pen and paper. So yes, that is also my kind of freedom, which people are learning. So, and thank you so much for being so gracious and being available for so long a time and imparting your knowledge. It is going to help, and hopefully we'll be able to conduct more such sessions. If not with each of you together, then I would definitely make sure that I will invite one or two of you in coming sessions so that, we'll have a revisit of the energy which we just faced and which we just experienced. So thank you so much, each and every one of you. You had great insights of all the things. And
we are also enriched really, by talking with all these distinguished people. Thank you very much. I'm also enriched.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me, Deepti.
Yeah, thank you, Deepti.
In the midst of eminent
pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much. You will see the recording in due time, like soonest possible. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for
sir.
bearing with me.
Namaskar. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye, students. Bye, Deepti.
Thank you very much.